And the game would finish 1-1. Manchester United held to a draw in Amorim's first game. So it's just a point as it stands right now. Obviously, Manchester United looking to climb up the table now that a new coach is in place. Well, they're up to 12th at the moment as it stands, but there's a lot of work to do for Ruben Amorim. That goes without saying. And there's a few questions to be asked of everything that we saw today as well. I suppose one of them, Ale, and I'll come to you first on this, is the threat up top and the need for a clinical striker here at Manchester United. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, when I evaluate this game, beyond whatever threat or lack thereof that Manchester United may have in the attack, I'm far more concerned as to what's going on the other side. Honestly, I looked at the back three today, and it's Mazraoui, De Ligt, Johnny Evans.
36-year-old Johnny Evans.
Mazraoui, De Ligt, Johnny Evans. And it was a perfect start for Manchester United. When you think that 2 minutes in, you're up 1-0 and Rashford scores and you're getting the sort of work that you're getting from Ahmad down the right-hand side, you think, all right, maybe there is something. And then as the game settled down and Ipswich started to have some possession and some moments of transition, and then you're playing the ball over the top into areas where now that back three gets exposed, then Leon Delap gets the sort of chance that he gets in front of Onana, and Onana has to come up with a huge save. It really is a wasted opportunity, though, from Delap. And those spaces were available to Ipswich anytime they wanted it. Anytime they wanted to play that ball wide of the back three, on the right or on the left, it was always there. And now you're in isolation. You have Mazraoui defending in isolation, which he's not very good at, and Johnny Evans can't really move, so defending in isolation is not a strength. And the one leading them is Matthias de Ligt, who has questions himself. And so I understand that this is the way that Amorim plays and this is his system and so on and so forth. I will say that Ipswich Town would have come into this game thinking a point is good for us. After the game, they may have thought, you know what? There was more for us in this match. And I think that says enough, or it says a lot, and everything that you need to know about where Manchester United are right now.
What do you think, Stevie? Because Amorim said afterwards that he thought his players were thinking too much during the game and that you could feel it.
I probably agree with him, to be honest, and I don't think that should come as a surprise, because basically you're playing 3 and 4 at least players in positions that they've never played before. So you are going to be thinking, because you're constantly wondering, am I in the right spot? And for Dalot and Diallo on the wide areas, as much as Ali's talking about the back three, the two of them, it's tough for them to figure out where the starting position is, because they know that there's space in behind, and so they end up going too deep. And then Amorim doesn't want them to be playing, they don't want to play 5 at the back. And so you saw Dalot and Diallo playing as fullbacks most of the time, particularly the second part of the first half. And you see the first chance that Delap had. That's a long ball that Diallo is fighting for. That's where the centre-back should be. That's why you play 3, because the outside back can go into that area where the hole is and cover it up. And so clearly, it's about the starting positions. So there's no question they're all running around wondering where to be. That's not a surprise.
We know he's not going to change the formation. He said as much. He said it's going to be his way and everybody has to learn to adapt to this. So with that in mind, with this formation for Manchester United, what is he going to have to work on to make this work for him?
Well, Stevie is absolutely correct in highlighting the outside guys and their starting position. And to that point, I say, if indeed Ahmad is further back and Dalot is further back, the sort of domino effect of that is that once you regain possession, these guys are no longer an option ahead of the ball. So whatever transitions you may want to have with the speed of Garnacho and the speed of Rashford is no longer available to you from wide areas, because those guys are back there. They're defending next to the back three. And so it really limits what they can do once they regain possession of the ball. Hence why their starting position has to be much higher up the field. But in order for that position and starting position to be higher up the field, you have to have enough numbers in the midfield to regain that possession of the ball. And so then it becomes a question as to who the pairing is. And is the pairing Casemiro and Ugarte? Is the pairing Casemiro? It obviously is going to include Ugarte at some point as the starter. And then probably Casemiro, maybe Eriksen. But regardless, whoever is it that you're talking about in that middle, they're going to have to cover a lot of ground. And they're going to have to win a lot of balls. It's a 3-4-3 that depends on those guys in the middle regaining possession of the ball and being able to cover the ground. And we know that Casemiro's no longer able to do that, and so it puts a whole lot of pressure on Manuel Ugarte if indeed they play side by side. That's, by the way, that's a pairing that Amorim is going to have to figure out. You know Ugarte is going to play. Who plays next to him will make a whole big of a difference in terms of how they regain possession in the middle third.
What about Marcus Rashford? Is he going to continue to give him a run here as centre forward?
I would think so. You know, the distance between Rashford and Højlund, there's no question, is pace. And the fact that it's going to take this team, it's going to take a few games to sort out, as I said, the starting positions. And so that means that it's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be a lot of counter-attacking. And so Rashford's going to have to play up the middle. Because if you play Højlund, that's not happening. That means now somebody, if you play Højlund, does that mean Rashford doesn't start? And if Rashford starts, that means he has to go to a wide position. Does that mean that then Garnacho doesn't start? But then Garnacho has to start? You know, going forward, he's the one player who seems to get himself in positions to get a strike at goal or to get the ball on a counter-attack. And if they do that, that means somebody further back isn't playing. Is it Fernandes? Is it Casemiro? Is it? I mean, so figuring out all these starting positions is so important, not just from a defensive point of view, but from an attacking point of view as well, in terms of numbers. There
has to be some patience with him though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he'll take a point. The manager will take a point. Listen, as long as he doesn't lose, he'll for the next 3, 4, 5 games, he'll take picking up points while they're learning to play the system that he wants to play. It just depends on how long it takes them to actually do it. And the other question is, are they capable of doing it? Mm-hmm. Which I guess is the bigger question.
And I think what you saw illustrated today is that regardless of whether it's Ten Hag or Amorim, you have major issues structurally for this team in terms of the talent that is available to you. Now, that doesn't excuse Erik Ten Hag and some of the decisions that he made. Now, he's long gone, but in comes a new guy who's supposed to be a hot property, and he's going to have a difficult time figuring out the structure and the organization and the starting positions. It is going to take some time. How much time is enough? And how much time are we willing to give Ruben Amorim before we start asking the questions? The questions remain the same. Who's going to play in that back line? Who's going to play in the middle? Who's going to play up top? That hasn't been figured out because the players haven't put together performances that would suggest I am a no-doubter in this team. I should be on the field all the time given my individual performances. That's not the case. It's very few players for Manchester United who can raise their hands and say, you know what, I'm a guy that you can trust.
You know, if there was one thing to take away from this United performance, if you're the coach, nobody said, you need to be playing me in the next game. Mm-hmm.